through the 2024 examination. So like, all questions are compulsory, and it consists of 5 sections. You answer all questions, then you start each question on a new page. Then whenever you're supposed to do calculations, you're supposed to round off your answer to correct to 2 decimal places. Then you show all calculations, and you may use a non-programmable calculator. So mark allocation for each question is used as a guide to the length of your answer. Then you are reminded to write neatly and legibly. So section A consists mainly of short questions, multiple choice questions, and others. Then section B will be made up of map work and tour planning and foreign exchange. Then tourist attractions, culture, heritage, and tourism fall under section C. Then on section D, you find tourism sectors, sustainable and responsible tourism. Then we also have domestic, regional, and international tourism, customer communication, and customer care. Then moving on to the short sections, the short questions. So in question 1, there are various options which have been provided as possible answers to the following questions. You must choose the correct answer and write only the letter A or B next to the question numbers 1.1 up to 1.1.20 in the answer book. So the first question, 1.1.1, reads, tips for waiters is a necessary expense of a tourist budget. It is part of an optional expense. This falls under the category of optional expenses. So the correct letter there would be B. Then 1.1.2, the arrival point of a journey is called, we refer to the arrival point as the destination. It is known as the destination. The departure is where a journey starts, then the destination is the arrival point. So the correct letter for that question would be letter A. Moving on to 1.1.3, the international dateline, abbreviated as IDL, is the imaginary line which results in a date change during traveling. So this is an imaginary line which results in a date change during traveling. That is the IDL. Then from there, we have 1.1.4. Drinking bottled water is considered as a precaution against the disease which is associated with drinking contaminated water is cholera. So when you drink bottled water, it is considered to be a precaution against a disease known as cholera. Then moving on to the next question. A yellow fever certificate can be obtained from. A yellow fever certificate can be obtained from A or from N. A yellow fever certificate, which is also known as a health certificate, can be obtained from a travel clinic. So the correct answer there would be B. 1.1.6. The most expensive destination for a tourist from South Africa. So there is an exchange rate table there. We have currencies compared to the South African rand. In the first column, we have the Australian dollar, which is trading at 12 rand 22 against the South African rand. Then we also have the US dollar trading at 18 rand 45 against the rand. Then we have the euro trading at 20 rand 55 against the rand. Then lastly, we have the British pound trading at 23 rand 68. So in this case, the most expensive destination will be the British pound, simply because for 1 British pound, you'd actually you have to pay 23 rand 68. So the British pound is associated with England. It is used in a country known as England. So we have to circle letter D as our response. Then we have 1.1.7. The photo below taken in the Black Forest is associated with this country. So the Black Forest, it is associated with Germany. Black Forest is an icon located in Germany. 1.1.8, this structure was built to protect a country and is over 6,000 in length. So the structure which was built to protect a country and is over 6,000 kilometers in length is known as the Great Wall of China, which is letter A. So the Great Wall of China is the correct option. Then 1.1.9, this waterfall is a natural attraction located between two countries in North America. So the Niagara Falls is the natural attraction located between two countries. So the correct answer would be the letter C, the Niagara Falls. Then moving on to the next one, 1.1.10. One way in which an attraction caters for visitors with disabilities. So in order for an attraction to cater for people with or for tourists with disabilities, it should have what we refer to as universal access. It should facilitate universal access where people can access the attraction regardless of their physical disabilities. Then moving on to 1.1.11, South Africa's brand logo below usually displays the following slogan. So the South African brand logo, which appears there, it usually displays the logo inspiring new ways, which is the letter A. Then the next question, 1.1.12, SA Tourism's marketing campaign that was launched in 2022. So when we look at the SA Tourism marketing campaign, which was launched in 2020. So the next, the South Africa's marketing campaign that was launched in 2022, it is referred to as Live Again, Live South Africa. So the correct letter there would be the letter A. Then the Komani cultural landscape is traditionally associated with the following artifacts. So it is associated with hunting with a bow and an arrow. It is associated with hunting with a bow and an arrow. Tourism businesses saving electricity is considered to be it is actually considered to be a responsible practice. It is considered to be a responsible practice when you are saving electricity, when you switch off lights before you leave a room. It is considered to be a responsible practice. An example of good work ethics. An example of good work ethics is giving respect for company property. When you respect company property, that is an example of good work ethics. Then 1.1.16, the current rugby world champions, the country which is the current rugby champions is known as South Africa. So the correct letter there would be the letter D. Then 1.1.17, the mass shooting of university students in the United States of America can be regarded as or an. So this is actually, it can be regarded as an act of terror. So when you're talking about an act of terror, is the use of violence to promote a political gain. So this can be referred to as an act of terror. So this organization collects information about tourists' length of stay in South Africa. The organization which is responsible for this is known as Statistics South Africa, which is abbreviated as Stats SA. Then 1.1.19, the second most popular purpose of international tourist arrivals in South Africa. So we first have to look at the graph which has been provided. So in the first bar, we have VFR, visiting friends and relative. It is standing at 41.4%. Then the second one would be visitors for holiday, standing at 20.9%. Then the third one will be shopping, standing at 22.9%. Then the next one will be business, standing at 6.4%. So if we analyze this graph, you can actually see that VFR is number one. Then that is 41.4%, followed by shopping, which is standing at 22.9%. So going back to the question, it reads, the second most popular purpose of international tourist arrivals in South Africa. So our answer will be shopping, which stands at 22.9%. So shopping is in the letter B. So we have to circle the letter B. 1.1.20, a disadvantage of web-based responses for customer feedback. So web-based responses are also called online-based responses. So one main disadvantage is that they require an internet connection and data are required before you use them. Well, in order to use them, you need an internet connection and you also need data. So when you don't have data, you cannot give a web-based response. Moving on to 1.2, give one word or term for each of the following descriptions by choosing a word or term from the list below. Write only the word or term next to the question numbers 1.2.1 to 1.2.5. So we have the Israel-Gaza war is an example of, so this is an example of a political situation. The prevailing Israel-Gaza conflict is an example of a political situation. So we write political next to 1.2.1. 1.2.2, the impact of fewer tourists and less money in an economy can lead to a recession, which is also known as a period of slow economic growth. So the impact of fewer tourists and less money in an economy leads to a recession. In tourism, the term expenditure refers to money spent while traveling. It refers to money spent whilst people are on a journey or whilst people are traveling. Then 1.2.4, a bus accident injuring many tourists during a peak holiday season will lead to negative publicity. When there is a bus accident leading to the loss of life, this will result in negative publicity. So our correct answer would be publicity. Then 1.2.5, tourists from Zimbabwe entering South Africa at the Beitbridge border post form part of the land markets, simply because they pass through a land border post, so they form part of the land markets, which brings us to the end of 1.2. Then moving on to the next one. Choose the correct word or words from those in brackets. Write only the words next to the question numbers 1.3.1 to 1.3.5 in the answer book, e.g. 1.3.6 passport. So in this case, we'll be highlighting the correct word there. Buying products made from recyclable material will result in a reduced carbon footprint. So reduced will be our correct answer there. Then the organization which ensures that fair wages and good working conditions are practiced by tourism businesses in South Africa. It is known as the Fair Trade Tourism. That is FTT, Fair Trade Tourism. 1.3.3, offering internships to school leavers from local communities is considered to be part of a SI initiative of a tourism company. It is part of a corporate social investment initiative of a tourism company. 1.3.4, a sustainable practice at a conference is for delegates to refill their glass bottles at the water station. It will be to refill their glass bottles at the water station. Then tourism businesses that acknowledge local customs, traditions, and celebrations can be considered as practicing the triple bottom line. They are considered to be as practicing the triple bottom line. So the correct answer there would be the triple bottom line. Moving on to the next one, 1.4. Choose a World Heritage Site from column B that matches the description in column A. Write only the letter A to F next to the question numbers in the answer book, e.g. 1.4.6, which is G. So the site showcasing the remains of an ancient civilization that is located in Limpopo is known as the Mapungubwe Cultural Landscape. So in this scenario, we are taking the letter B for 1.4.1. Then 1.4.2, a meteorite site located in the Free State and Northwest. A meteorite site located in the Free State and Northwest. It is known as the Fredderford Dome, which is the letter D. So in this case, letter D becomes our answer. Then 1.4.3, the site in Mpumalanga that includes the geotrail and ancient rock formations is known as the Beaverton Makonjwa Mountains, which is the letter F. Then 1.4.4, an estuary, river mouth in KZN that is popular for scuba diving. An estuary, a river mouth in KwaZulu-Natal, which is popular for scuba diving, is known as the Isimangaliso Wetland Park. So the letter C will be the correct answer there. Isimangaliso Wetland Park. The Sterkfontein Caves form part of this World Heritage Site in Gauteng. So the Sterkfontein Caves, they are part of the fossil hominid sites of South Africa, which is the letter A. The Sterkfontein Caves are part of the fossil hominid sites of South Africa, which brings us to the end of 1.4. Now moving on to 1.5. Study the information below and answer the questions that follow. First impressions last. By the time the guest checks in, several judgments about the appearance of the business and staff have already been made. Staff members are recognized by the uniforms they wear, as shown in the pictures A to H. A priority for the hotel management is to ensure hotel staff are professionally and appropriately dressed. So in this case, we have various professionals who work within the hotel environment. So the question reads, match pictures A to H above with the job descriptions below. Write only the letter next to the question numbers 1.5.1 to 1.5.5 in the answer book, e.g. 1.5.6K. So in this case, we'll be identifying the letter which matches the correct job description. So 1.5.1, this staff member is responsible for ensuring that the hotel is kept clean. So a staff member who ensures that the hotel is kept clean is known as a housekeeper. So in this case, letter H, it represents a housekeeper. So we are going to take letter H, then that represents the housekeeper. 1.5.2, this staff member must ensure all plumbing is fully functional at the hotel. So this is the job description of a plumber, or it can be the job description of a handyman. So the image which represents a plumber or a handyman in this case is the letter B. So 1.5.2 is B. Moving on to the third question. This staff member is a culinary specialist. So a culinary specialist is someone who specializes in the preparation of meals and beverages, in the preparation of food and beverages. So that is mainly done by a chef. So the letter G, it actually represents a chef, or it matches the description of a chef. So the letter G is the correct answer there. Then this staff member is the first point of contact when arriving guests, contact with arriving guests at luxury hotels. So the moment you arrive at a luxury hotel, you come across someone who is known as a porter. So the letter F represents a porter who is the first point of contact. So he's responsible for carrying the goods or the baggage of the guests. So the correct letter for porter would be the letter F. So the letter F matches the description of a porter. Then the next one, 1.5.5, this person manages the team that ensures the safety of all guests. So this is done by a safety officer. So in this case, the safety officer is the one in D. You can also see the way he's dressed and also those decorations on his jacket. So he's known as a safety officer. So a safety officer is represented by the letter D. Which brings us to the end of the first section, which is section A. Now moving on to the next section, which requires us to study the map which is provided. Then we respond to the questions appropriately. Then we respond to the questions which follow. So the question reads, study the world time zone map and the information below and answer the questions. So here is our time zone map, which appears there. Then we have a scenario which we have been given. So the question, actually, let's go through the scenario. Paris, third time around. So we have Paris in the background. We have Paris 2024 as the Summer Olympics took place in Paris, France, from 26 January to 11 August 2024. Apart from London, Paris is the second city that had the opportunity to host the Olympic Games 3 times, first in 1900, then in 1924, now in 2024. The Olympic Committee introduced break dancing, which is also known as breaking, as an Olympic sport in Paris 2024. 3 other sports were also introduced for the first time. That is sport climbing, skateboarding, and sailing. Then breakdancing is the name given to the actual dance. Dancers compete against opponents by showing off their moves in the 60-second dance rounds known as battles or throwdowns. Examples of breaking include head back, elbow, spins, windmills, jackhammers, and hand glides. Then our question reads, calculate the time difference between Paris and London at the time of the Olympic Games. So one thing which we need to bear in mind is that these Olympic Games took place in summer at a time when both countries were practicing DST. So both countries were practicing DST. So what we need to do, we need to go to the time zone map and look at the time zone for Paris. So here is our time zone map, which appears there. So the UK, which is London, is located in the area which I'm going to shade here, which is the 0 time zone. The UK is located in the 0 time zone. Then we have our Paris, which is located in the +1. So when we are moving from 0 to +1, we need to count the number or the difference. So from 0 to +1, we only move 1 place. So the time difference in this scenario is 1. It is actually, I'm going to calculate it above them. It's +1 minus 0, which gives us 1 hour. So there is only an hour difference between London and Paris. So the difference is 1 hour difference. Then moving on to the next question. Team South Africa competed at the Paris 2024 Summer Olympics. So their flight departed OR Tambo at 8 o'clock, that is 20:00 on 18 July 2024. That is the departure, time, and date. So Team South Africa competed at the 2024 Summer Olympics. Their flight departed at OR Tambo Airport at 8 o'clock. So our departure, we write it just then. That is 20:00. That is SAT time, South African Standard Time. Then the duration of the flight was 11 hours. So we have our 11 hours here. That is duration. So what we need is the time and date the South African team arrived in Paris. So we are going to add this 100 hours plus 11 hours. So the best way of adding this, we can actually also use the clock which is provided on the time zone map. So the departure, it was on 8 o'clock or 8 o'clock in the evening, which is 20. Then the duration was 11 hours. So we need to count 11 hours from 20. Start by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So in this scenario, the time of arrival according to South African time, it will be 7 o'clock on the 18th, on the 19th, because we have crossed midnight. So we also need to indicate that we have crossed midnight. So it's no longer the 18th, it's now the 19th, on 19 July 2024. Then we also need to factor in that France, the time difference between France and South Africa. So under normal circumstances, France is +1, then South Africa is +2, which gives us a 1 hour difference. 1 hour difference. But during this period, let's bear in mind that during this period, France was practicing DST. France was practicing DST. So when France is practicing DST, there is no time difference between South Africa and France. There is no time difference between South Africa, between SA and France. SA and France during DST, and France during summer months. Summer. So there's no time difference. So we take it as it is. The time of arrival and date is equals to 19 July, which is the following day, 2024. Then the date we have indicated as 19 July. Then the time of arrival, it will be 7 in the morning. So 7:00. So the key thing is to note that there is no time difference between South Africa and France during the summer in the Northern Hemisphere, or when France is experiencing summer. There won't be any time difference. So there is no need for us to add or minus any DST hours there. There is no time difference. So explain one way in which the team members had to adjust their clocks upon arrival in France. So in this case, there was no need to adjust clocks. There was no need to adjust clocks. because South Africa and Paris share the same time in summer. Share the same time in summer. When France is in summer. Is in summer. So there was no need to adjust. But in the event that they are not sharing the same time, of course, you can adjust digitally or using analog. So you can adjust digitally or using analog means, but in this case, please note that there was no time difference between France and South Africa during the Summer Olympics. Then the duration of the flight was 11 hours. Name the travel-related condition the team members suffered from after the flight. So after this flight, the team members, they suffered from a condition which is known as jet fatigue. They suffered from a condition known as jet fatigue. Why are we saying that it's jet fatigue? All right, if we look at the duration of this flight, it was actually a long-haul flight. If you look at the time zone map, from where they started their journey in Johannesburg, then they went straight to France. So what I need you to observe here is that the duration of the flight was 11 hours, which actually causes tiredness, which we refer to as jet fatigue. Then also please note that they only changed one time zone, so they did not experience any jet lag. So in this case, in terms of our reason, we can say that they embarked on a long-haul flight which results in jet fatigue. Which causes jet fatigue. A long-haul flight results in jet fatigue. Then secondly, they did not, no time zones were crossed. Or maybe only one, let's actually say that only one time zone was crossed. So in this case, let's say only one time zone, was crossed. Remember that jet lag is only experienced when you cross several time zones. But in this case, the team actually crossed only one time zone. So the condition which they ended up having is known as jet fatigue. Okay, after the Olympics, the team members extended their stay in Europe in order to explore other regions of France, Italy, and Spain. Name the visa required for this journey. The type of visa which is required for this journey is called a Schengen visa. Schengen visa is the visa which allows you to visit 25 various European countries which are part of the European Union. So explain one reason why the French team had to apply for their visa or the French application website and visit the French embassy. All right. One reason is that visas are obtained prior to departure. Visas are obtained prior to departure. That's the first thing. So you have to do it online. Then you get the actual stamp or you get the actual sticker from the embassy. Visas are obtained prior to departure, and it is the responsibility issued by an embassy of the destination country. They are issued by the embassy of the destination country. In addition to that, we should also take note that the French embassies they have gone digital. Some of them, they actually use the e-visa. So you can also talk about the e-visa regime. The e-visa system can also allow this to be done on a visa application website. So these are some of the reasons why they had to apply their visas on the French visa application website and visit the French embassy. Then visiting of the French embassy is to actually get the stamp or the sticker, which allows you to be in the Schengen area or in the European Union area. Then the next question now reads, explain two advantages of the type of visa mentioned in question 2.1. So the first advantage is that this, the Schengen visa saves time and money. So instead of applying several visas, several visas to visit various countries, instead of getting several visitors to visit various countries, you use one visa which is charged once. The cost is charged once. In other words, we are saying that if there was no change in visa, they were supposed to pay for visa application fees for France, for Italy, and for Spain. But simply because these countries have come to an agreement whereby you can visit all these countries using one visa, so you are saving costs, and at the same time, you are saving money for for the visa application fee. Then you're also saving processing time for the different visas or for the various visas. So that is the advantage of using a Schengen visa. It saves time. It also saves money. Then one visa allows you access to 25 European countries. Now, let's go to the next question. 2.3.1, name two items that the team members should have placed in the safe of the hotel room before leaving for the beach. So obviously, if you are carrying your jewelry, then if you are also carrying your travel documents, perhaps the original travel documents, that is your passport together with the visa. So you can move around with copies, travel documents. Then also you can include the things like cell phones. May include cell phones, but some would want to take selfies. But also you can include cash. You can also include cash. So any other valuables can be placed in the safe of the hotel room before leaving for the beach. So the main things is your jewelry, then your travel documents, and also your cash. Then in terms of the cell phones, it's actually an optional thing. Then in a paragraph, discuss 3 ways in which the team could protect themselves from exposure to the sun whilst at the beach. So the team would require sunscreen to minimize the effects of the sun's radiation. So they would need sunscreen. That is number one. Then the second thing, the team can visit the beach in the early hours and the late hours of the day. Hours of the day. So in other words, we are saying that when they visit, when they go to the beach, they can actually do it early in the morning before the sun gets too hot, or they can do it in the late hours of the day towards sunset when the temperatures have gone down. So it is advisable to engage in outdoor activities either in the early hours of the day or in the late hours of the day to minimize exposure to the sun rays. So in addition to that, they can wear protective clothing, e.g. sun hats, sunglasses and sun hats, and sun glasses to minimize the effects of the sun. So they can use sunglasses and sun hats to minimize the harmful effects of the sun or exposure to the sun. So these are some of the precautionary measures which can be taken by the team in order to minimize the effects of radiation of the sun. Now, suggest 2 ways in which the team would ensure their safety while exploring the streets of Madrid at night. So they should use public transport. They should use public transport which is certified, or they should use certified public transport. They should use certified public transport, and they should walk in groups. Walk in groups if possible. Avoid walking alone. They should walk in groups. Then, in addition to that, they can also use well-lit streets, walk in well-lit places. It is also recommended to walk in places with increased visibility or well-lit places. So these are some of the safety precautions which the team can take on their journey to Madrid at night. The next question reads, on the team's arrival at OR Tambo International Airport, Cheslin, one of the team members, had the following items in his luggage. So Cheslin had 2 times 50 mils bottles of perfume. Then he also had 1 pair of sneakers. Then he also had 30 cigars. Then he had 3 liters of French wine. So Cheslin went through the red channel on arrival. Give 2 reasons why Cheslin proceeded to the red channel. So the first reason would be, let's underline 2 times 50 mils of perfume. So only 1 times 50 mils is duty-free. Only 1 times 50 mils is duty-free. So he or she was actually above above the duty-free limit. So that's why he had to. So only 50 mils of perfume is duty-free. So moving on to the second bullet, one pair of sneakers is allowed because this is personal clothing. Then the questionable thing now is 30 cigars. So when it comes to 30 cigars, only 20 cigars are duty-free. Only 20 cigars are duty-free. So there is a problem here when it comes to cigars. She is above or he is above the limit by 10 cigars. Then moving on to the next one, 3 liters of French wine. Also here we have a challenge here. The 3 liters of French wine, it means that he has gone above the limit. So only 2 liters of wine is duty-free. So only 2 liters instead of the 3 liters is duty-free. So this tourist has to go through the red channel in order to declare the goods which are not duty-free. So give 2 reasons why Shailene proceeded to the red channel. So we have already stated these reasons. The first reason is that the perfume is above the duty-free limit. So he or she is only required to carry 50 mils of perfumes. Then only 2 cigarettes, or cigars rather, are duty-free. Then only 2 liters of wine is also permissible. So those are the reasons. Now moving on to the next question, which is question 3. Question 3 requires us to refer to the information below and answer the questions that follow. So each South African team member had 50,000 spending money for the trip to the Summer Olympic Games in Paris. The exchange there runs at OR International Airport before their flight to Paris. So here we have various currencies and their rates of exchange. We have the British pound, which is trading, which is being bought by the bank at 23.65, then sold by the bank at 23.68. Then we also have the euro being bought by the bank at 20.52, then also being bought by the bank at 20.52, then sold by the bank at 20.55. Then the question reads, give the currency code for the following currencies. So the first one is the British pound. So the British pound is abbreviated as the Great British Pound, GBP. That is the correct abbreviation there. Then when it comes to the euro, it is abbreviated as EUR. That is the first question. The next question reads, convert 50,000 into euro. So we have 50,000 rands. We are moving from rands to US dollar. So we have to use this particular rate, which is the bank selling rate, simply because the bank is selling foreign currency to you. So when we take it down, 50,000 divided 50,000 divided by 20.55. Our 20.55, we are using this one, which is the bank selling rates. So when we take out our calculators, when we divide 50,000, when we divide 50,000 by 20.5, 50,000 divided by 20.55. 50,000 divided by 20.55, it gives us 2,433. and 9 cents. So you can write the euro sign, or you can simply say 2004, 9 cents. That's euros. So that is the first calculation. Now moving on to the next one. Cheslin, he had 75 pounds left upon his arrival in South Africa. So he had 75 pounds, which is supposed to change into South African rand. So when the bank is taking foreign currency, the bank is actually buying. So we use the BBR. So we have to multiply 75 multiplied by 23.66. So if we take our calculators, when you look at that one, it's 75 multiplied by 23.66. It gives us a total of 1,774. Then there's also 50 cents. So this is the amount which he had as change when he came back to South Africa. Now, moving on to the next question, then gross domestic product is one of the main indicators to measure the wealth of a country. Explain the concept gross domestic product. So, GDP or gross domestic product is the total sum of goods and services produced in a country annually. A country annually. So this is the total sum value of goods and services produced in a country annually. The total value of the goods and services produced by a specific country in a country annually. Then the next question would read, discuss two ways how hosting the Olympic Games have contributed to the increase of the GDP in France. So by virtue of the fact that France hosted the Olympic Games, it resulted in the hosting of the event resulted in increased spending by tourists the event resulted in increased spending by tourists on goods and services which resulted in financial gains in the tourism industry. Thereby contributing to the country's GDP. Contributing largely country's GDP. Then money generated in tourism as well. By tourism businesses or tourism activities. Flowed to other sectors of the economy and benefited other sectors of the economy, resulting in the multiplier effect. In the multiplier effect, a situation whereby money generated in tourism benefits other sectors of the economy, so resulting in the multiplier effect. So that is how this global event contributed to the GDP of France. Now, moving on to the next question. The next question, it has something to do with tourism attractions, culture, heritage, tourism, and marketing. So the instruction reads, study the information below and answer the questions that follow. So we have Andile, a South African globetrotter, someone who travels around the world. He had a puzzle made of some of his favorite destinations in the world. So Andile's favorite four, we do have the images of the favorite four chosen by Andile. We have 4 images there. Now we need to respond to the question. So the question reads, refer to the puzzle above. Identify the 4 icons Andile visited. So the first one, it is the statue of Christ the Redeemer. The statue of Christ the Redeemer is the first icon. Then immediately below is followed by the Great Pyramids of Giza. Then immediately after that, on the right-hand side, we have the Ayers Rock. The Ayers Rock. Then on the other side, we have the Sydney Opera House. The Sydney Opera House. So basically, this is the first part of the question. Identify the 4 icons Andile visited. So we have the statue of Christ the Redeemer, the Great Pyramids of Giza, the Sydney Opera House. Then we also have the Ayers Rock. So those are the 4 icons. Then moving on to the next question, which we can write their names here. The Ayers Rock. The Ayers Rock. Then the Great Pyramids of Giza. The Great Pyramids of Giza, the statue of Christ the Redeemer, then finally, we have the Sydney Opera House. So the question now reads, the next question, which is the B part of the question. Name the countries where the icons identified in question 4.1 are located. So our keyword here, we should be more particular about the keywords. The keyword is country, not continent, not city. The question requires us to identify the country, not the city. So the first one would be, go to the first one. The statue of Christ the Redeemer is located in Brazil. The statue of Christ the Redeemer is located in. So the statue of Christ the Redeemer is located in Brazil. Then moving on to the Great Pyramids of Giza, they are located in Egypt. The location or the country is Egypt. That is the Great Pyramids of Giza. Then the Ayers Rock, it is located in Australia. Bear in mind that the country is known as Australia, and its continent is also known as what? As Australia. So in this case, Australia would be our correct one. Then the Sydney Opera House is also located in Australia. So we have two icons located in Australia, then one in Egypt, then one located in Brazil. Moving on to the next question. Identify the icon in the puzzle which is associated with music. So the icon from the puzzle which is associated with music is the Sydney Opera House. The Sydney Opera House is associated with music because it actually consists of an amphitheater, it consists of a cinema, it consists of so many things which are associated with music and entertainment. So it hosts concerts and live performances and live musical performances. So it was concerts and live musical performances. Then write the facts about the icon in the puzzle, which is located in Africa. So we have the Great Pyramids of Giza. They used to be were used as burial places for pharaohs. They were used as burial places for pharaohs, which were Egyptian kings. Then they date the pyramids date to about 4,500 BC. 4,500 years before Christ. They date to about 4,500 years BC. Then in addition to that, they represent the great Egyptian civilization. Then you can also talk about the materials which were used to build them. Then give two reasons why tourists are interested in sacred and religious sites. Give two reasons why tourists interested in sacred and religious sites would visit any two icons from the puzzle. So the two icons, we have the statue of Christ the Redeemer. Of Christ. All right, the Redeemer. Redeemer is a symbol of Christianity. It's a symbol for Christianity in the world. The statue of Christ the Redeemer is a symbol for Christianity. Then the second icon, which also has religious significance, is the Ayers Rock. The Ayers Rock is a sacred site from the indigenous aborigines, they treat it with respect. So the Ayers Rock is actually a sacred site for the indigenous aborigines who are found in Australia. So moving on to the next question, 4.2. Andile visited three icons, A, B, C, below, located in the same European country. So the first icon, obviously, that would be your Colosseum. The first icon, it will be your Colosseum. It will be your Colosseum. So they are located within the same country. So their names identify icon A, B, and C. So the first one is the Colosseum. It is known as the Colosseum. The second one is the Leaning Tower of Pisa. As you can see, it is leaning on its side. So it is known as the Leaning Tower of Pisa. The Leaning Tower of Pisa. Then the third one, which is on letter C, is the City of Venice. City of Venice. So that is 4.2.1. Identify the icons labeled A, B, and C. So each of the icons was constructed or built in a unique way. Discuss one fact of each of the icons with reference to their design and the way they were built. So starting with the first one, the Colosseum, that was the greatest amphitheater, the greatest arena or amphitheater in ancient Roman times. That was the greatest amphitheater in ancient Roman times, which was built during the time of the Roman Empire. That was the greatest amphitheater. Then if you move on to the next one, the Leaning Tower of Pisa. The Leaning Tower of Pisa, it was built on unstable ground. It was built on unstable ground. You can actually say that the foundation of the tower shifted. The foundation shifted during construction as a result of water seepage. During construction, then the structure leaned on its edge. The structure leaned on its edge, and it has been like that for several centuries. Then the city of Venice was built on several islands. The city of Venice was built on several islands. In addition to that, there are no roads in the city of Venice. There are no roads in Venice. The method of movement is actually the use of canals and gondolas. And gondolas to move around the cities or the city itself. So those are the different facts regarding how these different icons were built. Now we move on to question 5. Study the map below and answer the questions that follow. That is the map of South Africa. Then we have the province of the Western Cape. We have Cape Town. Then we have 2 icons which are located in Cape Town. So name the 2 World Heritage sites located in the Western Cape, labeled A and B. So the B one will be Robben Island, because it is outstretching from the peninsula. It is stretching into the ocean. Robben Island is the first one. Then the second one will be the Cape Floral region. which is also known as the Cape Protected Floral Region. So those are the two sites which are located there. Then give two reasons why the cultural site mentioned question 5.5. So in this case, our cultural site is Robben Island. It is a cultural site because it has some significance in the history of South Africa. So the question reads, give two reasons why the cultural site named in question 5.1 would attract tourists interested in the South African history. So it is a symbol for the triumph of the human spirit, for the triumph or the victory of the human spirit, human spirit over adversity, over challenges or over adversity. So it represents the triumph or the success of the human spirit over challenging things. Then in addition to that, Robben Island was a prison which housed several famous anti-apartheid politicians. So Robben Island, it accommodated famous political prisoners, prisoners such as Nelson Mandela. So it accommodated famous political prisoners. In addition to that, Robben Island, it also, its use changed over time, or it evolved over time. So it has gone through times when it used to be a mental asylum, then it was an asylum for lepers, then it was also an asylum for people suffering from diseases such as tuberculosis and other diseases. Then it also changed to become a hospital. Then there was a point in time when it was also used as a military base. And now we know it as a World Heritage Site or as a museum. Now, the next question reads, explain the role of UNESCO, which is the United Nations Scientific and Cultural Organization, in relation to world sites. So it is responsible for identifying. UNESCO identifies World Heritage Sites, World Heritage Sites. It is responsible for the identification of World Heritage Sites. In addition to that, it advocates for the preservation for World Heritage Site preservation. Then it also increases global awareness on World Heritage Sites, global awareness to make people aware of various World Heritage Sites. So those are the different roles of UNESCO when it comes to the protection of World Heritage Sites. Now, moving on to the next question, which is question 6. Read the website post below and answer the questions that follow. SA Tourism Global Brand Ambassador Sia Kolisi. Sia, the perfect person to partner SA Tourism in our marketing and promotional efforts. We seek to attract more travelers to come to visit our country. He is an exceptional South African whose story and journey inspire people from various parts of the globe. He is a true South African icon, says the acting Chief Executive Officer at SA Tourism, that is Noma Sonto and Lovu. Now, the first question reads, give one reason why Sia Kolisi was nominated or selected to become a brand ambassador. So the reason why they chose Sia Kolisi is to give credentials to the SA Tourism brand. In other words, we can say to endorse the tourism brand to endorse the South African tourism brand. That is the first reason why Siakolis was chosen. So different businesses or different organizations, they choose global icons or they choose sports celebrities so that they can actually give credentials to the tourism brand. So you can actually say that to endorse the tourism brand. So they were chosen as an endorsement to the tourism brand. That is the first thing. Then moving on to the next one, discuss two reasons why South Africa markets, SA tourism markets South Africa internationally. So the first thing, the reason why they market to showcase the unique tourism products offered by South Africa, to showcase the unique tourism products which South Africa has to offer, offered by brand South Africa. Africa. So the next thing is that to create awareness, to create or enhance global awareness on the unique activities and attractions in South Africa. Resulting in increased visitor numbers. So this results in increased visitor numbers. So several global tourists will end up visiting South Africa. So as they are visiting South Africa, it is actually good for the economy because it increases the GDP of the country. And at the same time, it creates what we call the multiplier effects, where the benefits or the financial benefits accrued from tourism-related activities flow to other sectors of the economy. Then moving on to 5.3, 6.2 reads, study the picture below and answer the questions that follow. South Africa showcases its best travel trade show in Germany. So we have a travel trade show, which is showcasing in Germany. It reads, visit South Africa, discover something in nature. Then we also have the word Berlin or the name Berlin there. So the question reads, identify the international travel trade show in the picture. This travel trade show is known as ITB, International Travel Bureau. It is known as ITB, International Travel Boss. It is the International Travel Boss, abbreviated as ITB. Then SA Tourism receives funding from South Africa internationally. Explain the function of the Tourism Business Council of South Africa in the management of marketing funds. So the first thing, we can say that TBSA, which is the Tourism Business Council, is the umbrella. It is the umbrella body which brings together different tourism players. It is the umbrella body which brings together different tourism players, tourism industry players. It is the umbrella body which brings together tourism, different tourism players, and coordinate strategies to boost It coordinates strategies to boost. So we are saying that TBSA is the umbrella body which brings together different tourism industry players, and it coordinates the marketing strategies to promote um, business profitability. Then the second thing is that TBCSA is the administrator of the funds. Is actually the administrator of the TOMSA levy. They administer or they oversee the use of the TOMSA levy to promote the interest of the role players, promote the interests of the role players. All right, they are the administrator of TOMSA levy. They oversee the use of those funds to promote the interest of various role players in the tourism business. All right, now moving on to the next question, which is question 7. Question 7, it has something to do with the conditions of employment. The head offices of international cruise lines are often based in major cities across the world. Therefore, they do not need to adhere to the basic conditions of employment legislation of any country. They can hire staff from anywhere in the world, even though it may create challenges relating to employment laws. However, cruise lines have set employment criteria that must be met when staff is hired. So working on a cruise ship often means long shifts of more than 12 hours a day. It is a common practice to work 7 days a week for several months without a break. Resting periods are often inadequate or too short, and the staff is often not paid for working overtime. Name the agreement between the cruise line and a crew member that must be signed before reporting for duty on a cruise ship. So before you undertake any job, you must, or you're entitled to signing the contract of employment. You are supposed to sign the contract of employment. That is the first thing. Then 7.1.2, Lydia is a travel agent specializing in bookings for cruise liners. Her office is in the city center of Gqeberha. Her work week is from Monday to Friday, and it is in line with the basic conditions of our Employment Act. So the question reads, give Lydia's working hours as specified by the basic conditions of Employment Act. So Lydia is supposed to work for a period of 8 hours. She is supposed to work for a period of 8 hours. Then the next question, it requires us to discuss about, one regulation concerning overtime work. So overtime work should not exceed 3 hours in one day. So overtime should not exceed 3 hours in one day. Then in addition to that, it should not exceed 10 hours in 1 week cycle. Exceed 10 hours in 1 week cycle, in 1 week. So it should not exceed 10 hours in 1 week. Then moving on to the next question, 7.2. Study the information below and answer the questions that follow. Code of conduct, be professional, be cautious. Then prioritize safety and security. Always keep passengers and crew safe. Work together as a team. Then respect privacy and confidentiality. Maintain cleanliness and appearance. Act with integrity. Respect cultural differences. Give one reason why a cruise line must have a code of conduct. A code of conduct, it governs conduct governs the behavior of staff, therefore guarding against unethical behavior. It guards or it prevents unethical behavior from the side of the staff. Then 7.2.2, it reads, respect for cultural differences is essential when working on a cruise ship. Discuss one consequence that can happen for a crew member who disrespects cultural differences. Okay, this can project a negative professional image. A negative professional image. This can actually project a negative professional image, resulting in the loss of clients. The company will end up losing clients. Result in negative word of mouth or negative reviews, which results in loss of clients and income. In loss of income, loss of clients. These are all negative effects of lack of respect for cultural differences when working for a cruise ship. 7.2.3, explain how respecting a code of conduct can promote a conducive, good working environment for staff. Okay, when you respect a code of conduct, it minimizes interpersonal conflict, It allows staff to work as a team, it promotes teamwork. It actually allows staff to work as a team, or it promotes teamwork, thereby creating a conducive work environment. Then it also minimizes interpersonal conflict, which might result with fights amongst members of staff. So that is how a good a code of conduct can promote a conducive, good working environment. Then the next question reads, study the information below and answer the questions that follow. Solar-powered airports, that is Uppington, Kimberley. Also, you have George Airport. All these are solar-powered airports. AXA has introduced 3 solar-powered airports, namely Uppington, George, Kimberley, making it the first for the African continent. As part of its sustainability efforts, AXA plans to extend this initiative to 3 additional regional airports soon. This is in line with its plan to make airports more environmentally friendly. Given South Africa's abundant sunshine, using solar power is a logical step towards generating electricity. So the first one is a definition of terms. Define the term solar power. Solar power refers to power derived from the sun. Or we can actually say energy derived from the sun. So this can be done using solar panels or any other alternative solar panels or even solar geysers. So solar power is energy which is derived from the sun. Complete the sentence below. The use of solar power is associated with the environmental pillar. It is associated with the environmental pillar. The other name for the environmental pillar, it is also known as the planet. It is the environmental pillar. Then name 2 other pillars of sustainability. We have people, which I will put in brackets as social, that is the social aspect. Then we also have profit, which in brackets, it is known as the economic pillar. So those are the two other pillars of sustainable tourism. Two advantages for airports of using solar power. All right, it is a clean source of energy. A clean source of energy. Energy which does not leave a carbon print or a carbon footprint on the environment, which does not leave a carbon footprint on the environment. Another advantage is that solar energy is cheaper in the long run. Is cheaper in the long run. In the long term or in the long run. What do I mean by this? When we say that it is cheaper in the long term, I am saying that once the infrastructure has been set up, there are no more bills to pay. It simply means that you are actually harnessing free power from the environment. So the only expensive part is the setting up of the infrastructure. But once the infrastructure is set up, there are no generating costs associated with solar power. So that's why we are saying that it is cheaper in the long term. In the long term, it is a cheaper alternative of power. Then moving on to 8.2, AXA's 2025 strategies to become the most sought after in-demand partner in the world for the provision of sustainable airport management solutions. Discuss two ways in which AXA's 2025 strategy can contribute to each of the aspects below. So this can contribute in quite a number of ways. Business operations. All right. This can result in more profitability for the company. For the company. Because of reduced energy costs, of reduced energy costs. So it can translate to real profit because of a reduction in energy costs. Then it can also increase the number of passengers, the number of environmentally conscious passengers. Conscious passengers using those airports. It can actually increase the number of volumes, the number of passengers who choose to use those particular airports simply because they practice what we consider to be sustainable and responsible management plans. Then responsibility regarding climate change, it reduces the carbon footprints on the environment. Because solar energy is a clean source of energy. Is a clean source of energy. Without which is free from CO2 emissions or any other harmful fumes. So it reduces the carbon footprint on the environment because solar energy is a clean source of energy without CO2 or other harmful effects on the environment. So solar energy is safer and does not result in environmental degradation. It has a zero effect on wildlife. Zero effect on wildlife. On wildlife. All right, then moving on to the next question, which is on section E, domestic, regional, and international tourism, communication, and customer care. Study the information below and answer the questions that follow. BRICS is an acronym for 5 emerging or developing countries, namely Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. In October 2023, BRICS met in Russia and admitted new members. These BRICS relationships help South Africa to trade with oil-rich nations. The relationship attracts investments and boosts economic growth in South Africa, especially during the current energy crisis. The annual BRICS meeting covers competition, trade, investment, sustainable development, and politics. Overall, it serves as a platform to promote cooperation among countries so that challenges and opportunities facing these countries can be collaborated or worked on or work together on. Choose the correct words from those given in brackets. BRICS can be classified as a summit. It is a meeting amongst the heads of states from those 5 countries and also from the new member states. Discuss 2 ways in which cooperation between BRICS can provide opportunities to manage the energy crisis in which South Africa is currently experiencing. So the cooperation can result in South Africa striking trade deals with preferential terms which are favorable in solving the energy crisis. All right, they can also be partnerships can also be formed in the development of infrastructure of energy infrastructure. So partnerships can also be formed in the development of energy infrastructure to solve the energy crisis in South Africa. Then in addition to that, funding can also be provided to develop funding, that is the provision of finance, can be provided to develop energy infrastructure. So funding can also be provided to develop energy infrastructure. So that is how cooperation between the BRICS member countries can provide opportunities to manage energy crisis in South Africa. The first thing is that they can strike deals with favorable terms. For example, South Africa can actually get oil or energy on credits, then which they would pay later on. Then partnerships can be formed in the development of energy infrastructure. For example, the building of new infrastructure can be done by members of the BRICS countries. Then in addition to that, some countries which have a bigger financial muscle can actually provide loans or funding to develop energy infrastructure to South Africa so that it can deal with the energy crisis. Then moving on to 9.2, study the information below and answer the questions that follow. Devastating floods, the September 2023 Storm Daniel caused damage in Libya, Greece, Turkey, and Bulgaria. Led to over 10,000 deaths and billions of dollars in damage. The strong winds and the heavy rain caused flooding and destruction. This occurrence made it hard for people to get clean water, food, healthcare, and emergency aid. Identify the type of unforeseen occurrence in the article above. These are known as floods. So the unforeseen occurrence or the natural disaster, in this case, it is known as floods. Explain how damage to infrastructure can affect communities' access to the following: clean water. So when there's a flood, normally there is contamination through contamination of water bodies, of water supply bodies. For example, when sewer or sewage ends up finding its way in water supply bodies such as dams. Then in addition to that, damage to pipes, to critical infrastructure such as pipes. Damage to critical infrastructure such as pipes, pumps can result in the disruption of clean water supplies. In the disruption of clean water supplies. It can result in the disruption of clean water supplies. Then in addition to that, you can also say that dams may be destroyed by floods. Be destroyed by floods. That's another thing. Then emergency aid, roads, road infrastructure, road infrastructure may be damaged. So there would be a damage of critical infrastructure such as road infrastructure, which links emergency aid to the people who need it. So road infrastructure may be damaged. Therefore, interrupting the delivery of aid. The same applies to bridges, can be bridges, airports. Airports can be damaged, and train or rail infrastructure. Airports, rail infrastructure can be disrupted, affecting the flow or the transportation, the flow of aid. When you're talking about aid, we are talking about the delivery of critical things such as food, water, then blankets and other things like that. So that is how those different forms of infrastructure can be affected, resulting or affecting the availability of clean water and emergency aid. Then the next question reads, discuss two advantages of using a digital wallet to pay for tourism products. So digital wallets, they have an advantage simply because they are considered to be much more safer and secure methods of payment They require the account holders private details in order for them, personal identity numbers in order for transaction to go through. So they are much more safer as compared to cash. Then in addition to that, we can also indicate that digital wallets, they also reduce clutter. Instead of carrying cash and coins around, so they reduce clutter, the amount of things which you are carrying. They reduce clutter as compared to cash. They reduce clutter. Then also, they are also security enhanced. I think security is also enhanced. They are also convenient provided that the relevant infrastructure is there, data connectivity, and also the speed points. Some are these all advantages of using a digital wallet to pay for tourism products and services. Now, moving on to the next one, give two reasons why cash is no longer a preferred method of payment. All right, cash, it is too risky to carry cash around. To carry large sums of cash around. Cash, as it can attract criminals, or even get lost. All right. In addition to that, you can also say that the cost of handling cash is too high. The cost of cash handling for businesses is too high for a tourism business. For example, if a tourism business receives large amounts of cash every day, that cash needs to be moved to and fro the bank. And it actually involves the engaging of security personnel who are going to charge a fee for that. So the first reason is that it's too risky to carry large sums of cash, as it can attract criminals. Then the cost of cash handling is just too high. It's not viable for business entities. Then moving on to the next question, which is question 10. Refer to the information below and answer the questions that follow. Customer responses, what really happens? So we have a cartoon which appears there. What happens after we read the customer responses? So we have a response coming from the other colleague. I file them. So what happens after we read the customer responses? So the other colleague is simply responding by saying that I file them. So the first thing, the first question, it reads, explain the meaning of customer survey. So customer survey is a method of collecting customer feedback, is a method of obtaining customer feedback from a certain section, from a certain sample sample of the whole population. So there are different customer survey methods. Some use questionnaires. Some use feedback cards. So it is a method of obtaining customer feedback from a certain sample of the whole population. Then 10.2 reads, by simply filing customer responses, the company will miss the opportunity to improve its products and services. Subject 2 ways in which companies should manage customer responses to ensure better customer service. So the first thing, they should actually thank customers for feedback. They should actually thank the customers for feedback, then identify shortcomings. Then they should also improve on the shortcomings. So they should thank the customers for providing that valuable feedback. Then they identify their shortcomings. Then they should also improve or work on their shortcomings. Then the next question reads, discuss 2 ways in which the use of customer surveys can result in improved customer satisfaction. So customer surveys inform the business entity of the shortcomings, giving them an opportunity to redress them. Opportunity to address or redress those shortcomings. An opportunity to address the shortcomings. The problems. So it also gives an opportunity to improve service delivery. An opportunity to improve service delivery. To improve service delivery. Then the other advantage is that it gives room for improvement, generally speaking. Through opening up to new ideas. Through opening up to new ideas and opportunities. Opening up to new ideas and new opportunities. So these are the ways in which customer feedback can be used to improve customer satisfaction. So customer surveys are actually a useful tool which businesses need to employ when they are running the tourism businesses. So this brings us to the end of this particular discussion of the 2024 paper. Hello, candidates. Welcome to this memo discussion for the Tourism November 2024 examination. So I'm going to go through the 2024 examination. So like all questions are compulsory. It consists of 5 sections. You answer all questions. Then you start each question on a new page. Then whenever you're supposed to do calculations, you're supposed to round off your answer to correct to 2 decimal places. Then you show all calculations and you may use a non-programmable calculator. So mark allocation for each question is used as a guide to the length of your answer. Then you are reminded to write neatly and legibly. So section A consists mainly of short questions, multiple choice questions, and others. Then section B will be made up